I'm afraid to watch it, however. I'm not
Check.
like myself. I don't like listening to
I don't like to listen myself either, so.
None. Okay,
Are we on already or no?
we are. They're on now.
Good evening, we'll go ahead and call this work session to order. This is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. At 5:30 PM at the Emmett Shockley Administration Building. Mr. Cole, can you call roll?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Cameron,
present.
Mrs. Crumley,
Present.
Mr. Orozco,
Present.
Mr. Crow present.
All right, pledge of allegiance.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Right. On to approval of the agenda. Any changes?
No, Mr. President, no changes.
I'll move to approve agenda. I'll second.
Mr. Crow.
Yes, sir. Mrs. Cameron,
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley,
Yes.
Mr. Orozco,
Yes.
Mr. Crow, yes.
Hey, board members, this evening, we're going to go over some policy advisories that were given by the New Mexico School Boards Association Policy Service. We adopted these policies, I believe, at the beginning of the 24-25 school year. And since then, there has been a handful of advisories. We'll try to move through these pretty quickly. If we feel comfortable with these, we can consider them for action on the board meeting next Thursday. Those that we're uncomfortable with, we can obviously postpone and not put on the agenda at that time. So I'm gonna give each of you a pin. Mr. Roscoe, if you can give everybody a copy of this first advisory. I'm gonna go over these advisories in a manner which I think, which I believe is useful. If you all don't prefer this format, and the next time we have an advisory session, we can do it differently. So when the advisory service provides policies, they number them. Sometimes there's just one advisory per number, sometimes there's multiple ones. So this first advisory that we're looking at in front of you is policy advisory 246. I will point out to you each advisory packet is set up the same. So when you look at it, I need to. Here we go. When you look at it, I've highlighted for you key elements in yellow that justify the reason for the change as per the policy service. Please note that the policy service and these advisories are done by a lawyer, Dan Castillo. So they have been vetted. Nothing I've seen today was of such need that I believe it required additional vetting by legal. But when we make our own tweaks to the policy, we want to have them looked at legal. So again, this is advisory back from an action from the ERB, which is the Educational Retirement Board in 2024. And really, it's just modifying the policy to make it clear that if you return to work, if you retired in New Mexico and you return to work and you do not complete the proper paperwork for returning to work, you may have a lapse in your pay, or you may have to pay it back. So all this is doing is just updating that language, taking out some old language that was out of date. In blue, the new language, again, they're requiring the retirees to comply with the law or have to pay back some or all of your pension. And of course, we're required here to make sure we monitor people that are returned to work, and Ms. Nish does that in her department. So this one's pretty straightforward. Are there any questions about 246? I only have enough packets for us, but I'll try to make sure we can view here on the screen.
You're welcome to join us.
Yeah. You like to get close?
You don't have to sit in the back.
You can close. Get close where you can see.
Who are you, man?
Hi, I'm Tiffany Coleman.
Oh, okay.
My company is Ventus Solutions. I don't know if you've heard of me, but I'm also running for school board district too.
Welcome.
And I couldn't find the meetings online. They have last year's calendar. but-
Yeah, it's there. We reorganized them.
You did?
And I'll show you.
Okay, was that yesterday or?
It was earlier this week, so they would all be in kind of one spot.
Okay,
And they're
yes, show
I
me.
think she's saying it's because the meeting calendar
Yes,
was last year.
yeah,
Oh,
We've never.
oh,
uploaded.
okay, well, I'm
that's
gonna,
what I was looking.
thank you, I'm sorry, I thought you meant the chart we were putting with all the
No,
materials.
the document was
Okay.
there.
Okay, very good.
You know
Thank
what we're gonna start doing? I'm gonna make sure that every week or that week we're gonna have a school board the day
Yeah.
before. We'll send out
Yeah.
a text or whatever.
We can send out a.
Love that you guys send out, wait, so you guys are all currently on the board?
Yeah.
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay, all of you.
You're
Okay.
running in my district, but I'm not running.
Oh, very nice to meet you. I've seen you around.
It's what I go.
Nice to meet you, Mary.
Say Mary, there's 6 Mary.
6 Marys, yes.
Mary Lou Cameron.
Mary Lou,
Yes,
one
Mary
of
Lou
the
Cameron.
only.
One.
I hear good things.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Ms. Pullman. Okay, so the second packet I'm gonna give you, any questions about the return to work?
No, we're
It's
good.
pretty clear. The second packet that I'm going to give you tonight, this is the only one I sort of made not edits to, but this was an 85-page advisory. And it wasn't, I'll show you, it wasn't quite necessary to include all 85 pages because there was, for this one, some relatively minimal changes. This mouse is tiny here. There it is.
This one though, you did link in the.
I did, all the pages are in there. All the pages were in there. All the pages were in there, all
I
85.
read all 85.
All 85 were in there.
Pages.
Okay, so this is, actually from a law, right, back from the PED revised regulation in November of 2023. And it really has to do with, there was some changes in, the nicotine and vape and tobacco language. And so what this policy advisory is doing is, just going through and consolidating, some of those policies into one. In addition to, throughout different regulations and different policies, adding in the, updated language of nicotine and vapes and really defining what those are a little more, clearly. So these are all the little updates that were done. I'm gonna advise you, if you flip over to the next 2 pages, this is the key of what is being done with each of the different policies. So again, here we say, right, they're updating the policy there for all students, for employees, reminding what is prohibited. People really can't be also promoting and advertising tobacco. They're reiterating that. But all of these notes that the advisory service here is kind of summarizing what happened with this giant 85-page packet. So the first one, which we'll look at, which I did include for you, policy advisory 247. This is in 247 is where they consolidated a lot of the information that was in the other policies. They took it out and they consolidated it here in blue, which we'll go over that one in just a second. The rest of these, they're just adding a new regulation, and they're just adding to the regulation about buses, right? Just updating the language in that one. So I didn't include that in this packet here, but it says and nicotine and vape. So they're just really 1 or 2 word changes. Some of these, for example, policy 250, that was gonna be deleted because it's now part of the new the revisions to policy advisory 247. And so that's really kind of what they did through each one of these parts of the advisory. And again, when we bring to you next week, you'll only be required to approve the policies. The regulations are not required to be approved by you all. Regulations are what we promulgate as well as exhibits. And of course, we always want to share the regulations and exhibits with you so you'll know what we are including. So again, I'll scroll here to.
So we're only to.
We're only at 247.
Okay.
So 247, again, as you can see, this is where they took, all those ones in red. They said refer to these policies. They said, you know what, we're just gonna put all that language here, in policy, in one location.
Do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Only came up because I read. these
That's okay.
things.
I'll try to get you an answer.
So when it talks about prohibiting the use of nicotine, drugs, so on and so forth. On school grounds
Mhm.
or at school
School
activities,
controlled or sponsored events, yeah.
how does that apply to softball, baseball fields?
So I think, Ms. Crumley, that's an interesting question, right? It should apply there because it is a school event. As you'll probably see on the agenda for next week's meeting, because it involves real estate stuff, there's gonna be an executive session item regarding some real estate items and things we need to look into. One of those is the softball
Baseball.
baseball complex there that we use with the city. So yes,
'Cause the city owns that property. right?
correct,
Okay,
correct,
but we use it for school.
Correct.
activities.
And we've done improvements to it. already.
correct.
Mm.
And so because of those exact things you've described there,
It's basically.
that is why we need to have a discussion in executive session about that real estate agreement we have going on with the city. So yes, you're right, Ms. Crumley. These things, they're school events. We should have those posted there and as well. But
So those signs it talks about,
mhm,
seems like they're supposed to be posted everywhere, like.
Correct.
Almost everywhere.
correct,
So
yes.
it's broad.
That is right here, and it's in this this new regulation here. It talks about, this is what you're talking about, right, Ms. Crumley?
Mhm.
That all entrances to all athletic facilities,
And building.
all over the place and buildings should have these notifications. And so that is,
Since it's a regulation though, like, is it? If we do adopt these policies, is it your intention to do that?
well, these regulations obviously are supported here in administrative code. So that's something, yeah, we do need to make sure, I mean, that we comply with that. And get those posted.
And then the other
Mm-hmm.
weird question I had was when it talks about. The promotion of products,
Mhm.
which I thought was worded
Right,
weird.
right?
Does that also mean that, like, how does that apply to sponsorships for
Yeah, and
stuff? Like, cause we
Sure.
do have like the local THC type companies.
right,
And I don't know if they,
No, they don't sponsor. I don't think
are you
they're.
sure?
yeah.
There's one that's on there?
I mean, I don't know. if
As far as I know,
Like,
the
as
way
far
I
as,
was
like,
told, because
booster clubs and stuff, I just wondered if they do. I don't know if they do.
when I sponsor,
Mhm.
they ask me.
Right,
What is my
yeah.
business? And so
Mhm.
they've asked me before and I've told them, well, it's I'm a general
Yeah.
contractor.
Right.
And they said, okay, just making sure, because they cannot, obviously, that's been around there, so they
Right.
can't advertise,
And there-
the marijuana shop down the street or
Right,
whatever.
there is an advertising in schools policy
Yeah.
that off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly, but I know there are things related to that in the advertising in schools policy. Obviously, right here, this is kind of where Mr. Castile, who is the policy service person here, is talking about prohibiting the promotion of the activities and products. And so I think what he's sort of saying here is
And flyers.
it's not defined, right? Certainly advertisement's gonna fall into this, but what he's arguing here is if a parent showing up at a game wearing their,
Marlboro Man.
their Marlboro Man shirt
Or a Coors Light.
is that defined as promotion? What Mr. Castillo is saying here is if we have a regulation, we're gonna use the word promotion. Mr. Castillo is not defining promotion. He says, however, if you wish as a school district to include people wearing those types of shirts as promotion, please consult your legal counsel. So, well, certainly the word promotion is in the state administrative code of regulations to put into our policy. How we interpret promotion
So it's ambiguous.
is right, is ambiguous, tied more to, I guess, maybe what the public may be wearing and doing. But we can be in a very clear and confident position if it's something that we're allowing as an advertisement, or, we're giving out the little zip backpacks. We can't have those promoted by anything that's violating policy.
I know that if they sell alcohol, I remember, I'm not 100% sure. they sell alcohol or tobacco. and
Yeah.
Just a shop like that, they know that they can't advertise to kids also. I think they have regulations that they can't do.
Yes.
And so, and I think the shops also have that they can't push it out.
As
They
part of
can't
their
do it to
life,
them. So it kind of covers both
Right.
ways, you know what I'm saying?
their state licenses
Yeah.
that they get.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, but you
You're
know.
right. I think you're right, Mr. Cole.
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's what we're here for.
So for the JKEB, like it's an exhibit,
Uh-huh.
so that one refers to.
This one about the discipline policy, right?
Yeah, so it refers to an administrative handbook since forever ago when we adopted it.
Yeah.
But when I've asked for the administrative handbook, I've been told that it is not
So,
formalized.
so I know what you're talking about, here,
Okay.
Mr. Carmelli, because I did make a note in this one on JKEB. And I didn't look at the page number, but it's okay. I put on here referred to DPS handbook. Cause, this particular. Should look up, what regulation number is it? Mr. Carmelli?
Well, it
It's-
says JKEB on here.
Yeah, but it's policy advisory.
Two,
Two what?
256.
Okay, that. Let me get down here. I don't wanna click too many buttons and shut this live stream off. 256. Almost there. Didn't wanna kill all the trees putting all these out for one or two words. Okay. Anyway, when you see that administrative, that's a student handbook.
Right.
And
Cause I think that language has been there since we adopted this.
right, and we worked on, or you all, before me getting here, worked on the discipline matrix. Right, that
We didn't work on that, but we, the
the
principal.
principals were,
Yeah.
okay,
We-
I thought I had.
No.
There was a transportation one.
That was the one, maybe that's the one, maybe that's the one,
That one.
that was the one I heard presented.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then the
Okay.
other one is gonna be.
Okay, so
Working on.
Okay, so what I hear you saying, right, I think I've noticed, I've been doing some search on the website that we need to, update our handbook. I've seen I have seen the matrix, right, the discipline matrix for the district. In policy, in the section referred to the student code of conduct. It basically, it requires us when we update it, requires us to get input from the community, parents, principals. It doesn't necessarily require board approval.
Right.
However, it does recommend review and consultation with the board. So what I can make as a project over the next few months is to take our current handbook, kind of go through it, see what we can put together to present to you all. And I think that'll be good in clarifying for this year. But my goal really would be to make sure that that is super clear and super aligned for the start of our next school year.
Okay.
Okay?
And standardized.
And standardized.
Standardized.
Yes, 'cause I know we have multiple
Yeah.
school with this, and I did,
And I think that's why the discipline matrix would be a great discussion to have.
Sure.
Cause I've never seen it.
okay, and you're right, I was under the, you are right, I did watch the previous recordings of the video, and you're right, it was transportation.
Yeah.
And I just meshed that with the discipline one, so I think that's a valid thing to do as a
And
project.
we tweaked the transportation one too. It
You
came
did.
back to us
Yeah.
again.
You did.
We did tweak
You
it.
did.
and I think it's working pretty well.
Yes, it is. You make that out of the handbook. Thank you, Ms. Crummy, but yes, that, you're right. I'll keep scrolling and I'll probably scroll past it, but it does refer to that, okay?
It's just a real short and sweet thing that says.
Yes,
It's like an exhibit that says refer to something else.
yes, it does. Yes, three more advisories down. So again, I know, again, this was gonna be a one that had the most amount of pages, but not, too much, content. Again, taking all of the existing policies, deleting them, and then codifying them into less regulations and less policies. Okay, so,
That's very good.
and I know I shared this with you all previously, but, I'll share it again. If you have any additional questions before next Thursday, I'll be happy to, answer them. Is there anything that was unclear for the four of you that you had reviewed on this? Okay, I'll put that one aside while I get the next one, ready. I'm gonna ask This one is probably gonna take a little bit of discussion as well. Has to do with some graduation stuff that I want to provide you all clarity on. And other than that, most of the other ones are pretty simple. Mr. Lushko, you can make sure everybody gets one of each, please. Take one for myself. Let me get this slide. Okay, so I do recall in my watching of the archives. As many school boards did last year, due to some changes in the state requirements for graduation, districts adopted graduation policies, okay? This advisory updates a couple of those areas. Now, what I want to share is the packet that you have that I have labeled DPS Board Meeting April 2025. This is, and I remember watching this, what was presented to you and approved in the April meeting, okay? Now, what I want to share with you, if you flip to page 3, see one.
Of that, yeah. okay.
Yeah, one, I don't know if it's front and back or not, I could show you all, but
No, it's fine.
where I put this green line is all that ended up in showing in the policy, and I realized I didn't do double on that, so if you open up our so Mr. Turner sent this into the policy advisory service. They updated the policy manual, but what ended up in there
Chopped it off.
chopped it off, right? It only ended up being these right up to here. Okay, the rest of this that you all approved, which did not, okay? So what's interesting is that these things that you did approve were actually the graduation requirements for our sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Okay, the new graduation requirements you all approved, which are below here, which for our current freshmen, aren't presenting in the handbook or the manual, okay? Which is sort of important to make sure it's all there.
Yeah.
Okay, in looking into that, I looked at the policy advisory that's here for you all and drew on some experience I had in a previous role in doing this and made the determination. I'd like to suggest it's not going to change the graduation requirements, but it's going to make sure all of our language in our graduation policy is in alignment with existing state law and new state law. So I'm going to share with you these two advisories for you to consider us adopting. Before you guys changed the graduation requirements last April, this language I'm about to show you was what was actually in the handbook. I'm in the handbook, I'm sorry, in the policy manual, right? So I'm gonna go first to this easy one, policy 261. You may remember from conversations that Ms. Reinhardt and the high school and the principals had with you all that there are next step plans that are required for all kids when they graduate. That's been in place forever. For as long as I've been a high school educator. So this first policy here, okay, revision, student schedules and course loads is making sure that it's not the board that ensures they have the opportunity to update their make a plan. It's my responsibility to make sure the kids make a plan. Okay. It's also updating from state statutes that honors and advanced placement courses have always been allowed, but there's a category of courses we don't really offer them much here in New Mexico, but international baccalaureate classes, which are equivalent to advanced placement classes. It adds that language. And then it tells us, right, each year, the plan shall be completed on the department template with the department requirements. Okay, that language about how we complete the next step plans is all from state statute. Okay, so that is really all the changes that are occurring with this first little policy about class schedules and class loads. The more important thing I want to go over with you is the graduation requirement one here, okay? So what I want you to understand is that when you're looking at this, all the stuff that was in black and struck out in red, that's what was in the NMSBA policy when you first adopted it back in 2024, okay? Then you made those changes in April, and then it changed it to what you were looking at here, okay? So what I'm proposing is we look at this language here, and this gets us back into alignment with what is generally in the NMSBA handbook style or policy style. That way, if any future updates come, it's more in line.
Alright.
This is a good example of, and this advisory came out in March of 2024, right before you all made these changes. So this is a good example of, if you can wait till the advisory comes out, your changes can be a little bit cleaner. But there was a little bit of a time crunch there to get that passed. And of course, sometimes these advisories come out late. So many districts did make the changes like Deming did. And I want to, you
We're just
also
gonna clean it up. basically.
consider coming back and cleaning it up. So again, none of this language here changes anything that you all passed in April. Just reminding us that these new requirements are for the kids coming in 25-26. So it would be our current freshmen. It's taking out in red here a lot of the language referring back to you used to be able to do a portfolio to graduate. You used to have 5 years to do your stuff after you graduated. That was all taken out of the new law. That was all taken out of, right? So it's being taken out of policy here in red. There's the information there, the second bullet about the portfolio. Okay. The red here is just striking out and saying, starting with 25-26, here in Deming, it's 24 credits. And of course, these are the units that are listed here. Now, all these units that are listed here in blue are in alignment with what you all approved before. That just, from the page that Mr. Lozano and Mr. Simpson provided in this packet, they all align with this.
Yeah.
Except it's just listing the general categories here and the specifics on here, okay? This language you see right here in blue is right from the state requirements. The one thing, and I did make this edit, well, maybe I did, and it overcorrected, and I'll bring it back to you for when we do possible approval next week. But you see these things here that say, for English, it says English, math, and I think it's English, math, and science. And it says here, 4 units in English, which shall include a 3-unit sequence, provided that the department approved work-based learning, career technical education, and EL and classes count. What they were allowing here to summarize, for English, math, and science, they were allowing certain CTE courses to count instead of having to take English 1, 2, and 3, which is all a great idea. Unfortunately, and I should have been a little more prepared on this one. I thought I had fixed this, but I guess I didn't. Unfortunately, it required last year, it would have required a whole committee of people to select the courses. The teacher, like if you were going to take journalism to replace English 1, it would require your teacher to be CTE certified and English certified. If you were gonna be taking a CTE math class, something that like an engineering class, that teacher would have to be engineering and math certified. So the state had a great idea for these 3, but they put in so many requirements and regulations that it's not really gonna be able to apply to most any kids in the state. In addition, on some of these, they said, if you want this to count, like there's a work-based learning element as well. Well, the work-based, you have to already have had a 480 on the PSAT and a C in your class, right? So they put in a lot of these parameters that aren't helpful.
Yeah.
So when I bring this back to you, because that's something that many districts in the state did not choose to plan those committees to do ahead of time before policies are adopted. When I bring this back to you on next Thursday for possible approval, I will strike out those references to work-based learning and CTE courses to count in English, math, and science. Now, if we feel in the future we want to convene those committees to do that, then we can do that, except, and if we do find some qualifying CTE courses and qualifying, teachers to do that, those requirements would go into effect for the freshman that year, right?
Oh,
Because this law says, once you set freshman requirements in place,
For this class.
it's gotta stay in place for the whole freshman. Okay, so if we choose to in the future make those changes, that's perfectly fine. It'll just be starting with
New cohort.
a new core. Okay, and I apologize for not, thought I made those corrections and I did not.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So without adding all of this up
Uh-huh,
on your final,
uh-huh.
so by the time they're senior,
Mhm.
are they gonna be left with like 2 classes or?
Yeah,
How does
so-
that look?
So
How does that?
So good question. There's 24 credits that are required. The Deming High School currently offers 7 credits, so you can get up to 28 credits. I think, in the regulation here that the board did pass, and it will be part of our regulation, that all seniors are required to take 5 classes. And so we can offer, even if they get a little bit of a head,
In their senior
in
year?
the senior, we want to make sure we offer more,
Electives.
work-based learning, electives, those kind of things. So kids can, there's always a worry that kids are gonna finish and take their senior year off.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised, in most cases, kids want to engage in their senior year. And the reason why sometimes 24 credits versus 26 or 28 is better is because oftentimes, a little bit lower of a credit requirement helps those kids who struggle, right? Those kids that are freshmen and they just had the terrible freshman year. If you had 26 credits and a freshman failed 3 classes their freshman year and you had a 26 credit graduation requirement, those kids would already be behind. They'd already have to take summer school.
Yeah.
And sometimes they get it together their sophomore year. And so, a lot of districts around the state, including Deming, chose to say, hey, you know what? Most kids, that are on track are gonna take more than 24 credits.
Mhm.
They're gonna end up with 28, 29, 30. If we stick with 24, this is gonna help some of those kids who had that rough freshman year. It's gonna help them get over the line and get into graduation.
I have 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
2 more.
Sure.
So there is summer school, is there summer school offered here?
There is summer school opportunities.
So they can, if they're
They can make up.
failing in
Mhm.
freshman and
Mhm.
in one class, they can
Mhm.
catch up a little bit.
Online school too.
And there's
There's
online.
credit
Okay.
recovery.
Credit recovery.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then my other question is, and maybe it's more of planting a seed,
Mhm.
is there a thought of maybe requiring, and it can start in freshman or sophomore year, students before they graduate to serve a certain amount of, volunteer work to nonprofits? I know other states are doing that, and it's where it works well with them, but is that a thought here, or?
So here's what I can share with you. Those are, right, in any kind of graduation requirement are all the options of the board. I've heard exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
That is certainly something, a school board could consider, and work with the leadership team here as a requirement. But just like I mentioned, Eric, is something that the board chose to do, it would be something that would go into place for a future cohort.
of course,
Does that
of
make
course,
sense?
I'm planting a seed.
Yeah,
here.
no, I've
Putting
heard
it
of
out
that,
there.
I've heard of.
And I think now
Yeah.
that if you have, I think they call it work study, you can get a credit.
You can get
for-
credit for work
For
study.
work study, so that's another possibility. Where
Yeah.
the kids, there's a lot of kids that
Right.
really do have to work.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the second, basically the last year, they get to
Mhm.
work half a day or a whole day or whatever.
Well, and I heard about the apprenticeship.
With no payment.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yes, the no payment, because
Yeah.
people have said, well, they're an apprenticeship, and I'm like, no, we're not talking, we're talking about volunteering to nonprofits. And it would also help our community here, we have a lot of
Absolutely.
nonprofits.
And there's lots of things that
Yeah.
there's lots of things that we can make requirements, and there's also lots of things that as a leadership team, we can work with the principals to say, hey, before we make this a requirement, let's make it a pilot, give it a try,
Yeah.
right?
Or even just having it as an opportunity.
Or having
not
it as an
necessarily a
Right,
requirement.
having it as an opportunity, and when you
Yeah.
find those things, then those are the things you leverage as part of what's supported community. So I think
Yeah.
that's great, great input. So anyway, items 2, 3, 4, and 5 are your cores, which again, that all lines up to what you all adopted in April. Same thing with number 5, that's the half health credit. Also what you approved, also in what you approved in April as well. Except here in Deming, the half credit of health is typically in middle school, which is allowed by the statute. Right here on number 7, I divided this up. That's why it's in yellow. If you recall from the discussions last year, you have to have 5.5 elective units, and they have to be you have to take at least 2 in a pathway. And of course, if you were to look back in your packet here in the little chart that Mr. Lozano provided, right? It indicates that, yes, you gotta take 2 in a CTE class, 2 in an art class, 2 in a sequence. Okay, so that's what all that is referring to is there as well. And then, of course, if you recall, the last 2 units are local discretionary units. And if I recall from what I watched and what's published here, on this packet that I did not print the front and back for you, so I'll be able to, it's here.
Wasn't gonna say.
I'll be able to find it.
I was
7.
on skip for-
No, 7. Fortunately, page 7 is the one I was gonna refer to here.
We just got the odd numbers.
Yeah, you just got the odd numbers. So, that bottom there, local discretion units on page 7, that's where Mr. Lozano and the team was saying, hey, here's all that kind of menu of classes
Yeah.
the kids could take. And so that's what that is referring.
Page 7,
On
maybe
page-
I'm lost.
Well, Miss Cameron, I might have given you
Yeah.
it's a different.
No, we got it right here. Different packet, right
Sorry,
here.
I gave too many
Okay,
pages.
that's the other, I'm looking
So
at.
even though,
Right here.
Uh-huh.
I remember us talking about this
Mhm.
and adopting or
Right.
doing whatever it was we did. So does that remain a regulation? Or,
So here's what I'm gonna propose, right? You adopted it technically as a policy, and we could go list all this in the manual. What I'm proposing, and what the note I've made here, is that the specifics of the course requirements, I'm proposing at some point, if we adopt this language of the policy here, right?
Yeah.
Then I'm proposing, and it would kind of be in a handbook, Ms. Crumley, these things that you adopted with the specific course information here that Mr. Lozano, Mr. Simpson, and everybody has listed on some of the pages, on the odd pages, there's even pages that go, then we make that the regulation. And we put that regulation in here as
That
well,
way, if it needs to be tweaked throughout the year.
that way, right, right? And so,
problem with that, I
Yeah.
guess I just thought, and I could be misremembering, but I thought the law said the board has to set that as a policy, but maybe not.
you do have to set the requirements, but
Okay.
you don't have to
We
set,
don't have to choose
you don't have to
the
set-
rules.
yeah, you're choosing
Those 4 categories.
the categories here, right? And for this one, for the discretionary one, right? You are choosing the units.
Okay,
And it is these units that are listed here on page 7.
yeah.
We had to submit to the state the
That we-
units, correct, so we did, so we took these. And we had to submit, and I don't have it with me, and Ms. Reinhardt did show me, because I did have a meeting with Ms. Reinhardt and Mr. Lozano about what we're talking about now. And they submitted a list to the state. From this it's a little more specific than this, all the courses with all the numbers. So we can put those course numbers, we can put them here in, we can list those here in the policy, right under that number 8. For the units.
I'm fine either
That'd be more
way,
clear.
I just wanted to make sure we were complying with the law.
Yeah, no, yes, you are good. Okay, because they did ask us, for those, the list of those units. So we can make sure that they do end up here listed by, number, for sure. And then, I'll go through the rest of this and kind of give you a high level overview. These things in red here are the ones from the previous years that are struck out. This is an important thing that's in the state statute that I want to make sure we got back in our policy, that a single course credit could only fulfill one category. Okay, so for some reason you had chosen one of the discretionary units with some kind of, I don't know, math of some kind. You couldn't use that for your 4th year of regular math, right? And the elective math.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah, you
So
can't double dip.
You can't double dip through categories, okay? And that is in state statute, and I thought that was very important to be back in the policy.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, and again, you all may have heard of this. This is something we need to probably revisit based on kind of what I've gathered in my time here. I didn't see a lot of discussion about this or presentation to the board about a graduate profile. We are required to have a graduate profile that is aligned to our things here. In my previous role, I did do some work on graduate profiles. So it is required in policy. And here again, I'm gonna kind of take a look at, get a little more history I have some papers on my desk that say profile of a graduate for the public schools. I need to do a little more research on how we came in the community to those things. From a new to town person, I felt those are some pretty strong things to start with.
Traits.
They're pretty strong things to start with. And so maybe we need to, again, over the next couple of months, administratively, we'll work through those, get a little history on those, and then try to bring those back to you just for some input, okay, to make sure.
So what does it mean? Or I guess tell me,
Uh-huh.
because I don't know,
Mhm.
like, what is a graduate profile? What should that,
You know, Ms. Crumley,
Entail.
I
I don't know what
They-
it
they-
is.
and if I had been a little more prepared, I had that. So it's traits, skills, interpersonal skills, academic skills that you want all kids to possess when they leave to be public schools.
It's the output,
It's the output.
of the perfect output of what you,
And
at the end of
so,
12 years, this is
and-
what the product that you're
Almost-
you're
So,
creating.
so is it not just a list of traits? Is it supposed to be more than that?
yeah, so here's what I'm gonna share with you. This is
Okay.
you have a very interesting point. So the state passed this like in 2024, and then everybody had like a whole year to get ready. All they had on what a graduate profile was, and I'm just taking on my previous experience, was a little definition in the statute that didn't really say.
It doesn't really make.
It didn't,
sense.
it didn't really say,
No.
and this is when I was doing some previous work, I was like, well, do I need to have like a list of things, like by the end of fourth grade, you'll be able to do this, by the end of third, and it was very unclear and ambiguous, okay? It was not until, wasn't even, it was, yeah, when it was barely this summer, that the state partnered with a group called West, no, it's not West, it's one of the CTE
Yeah.
groups to help develop graduate profiles. Okay, and then they listed, and this is something we can have for discussion at some point, maybe like in a November, December meeting. That really describes
What it is.
what it needs to be.
Okay,
And so that will guide us to have the required specificity, because the PED is gonna want these graduate profiles. Is gonna want these graduate profiles submitted.
so is a graduate profile meant to be something that is measurable, like what you said, like maybe do this by fourth grade or demonstrate this by whatever, like, is it meant to be?
In the document I read, it's not meant to be that specific. It's not meant to be by fourth grade, by third grade, by first grade, right? I can't remember, Ms. Crumley, there's three elements to it, right? The broad category, and then the subcategory, and like, a handful of skills.
And when it says like specific to community, what does that mean?
Yeah, and so in the development of graduate profile, what the steps are is that you gather input from the community on what's important to the community, and then you develop your profile based on that. So you say, hey, based here in Deming and Luna County, right? And Deming Public Schools, these are the outcomes we want in our kids. These are the traits we want in our kids. And each community's graduate profile is different, and you work to make sure kids are taking courses that align to that profile.
And I think, you may, two of us, I guess we were the longest. I think we've attempted it among the years. It
Yeah.
just, hasn't always just continued, or it
Yeah.
kind of is like a work and then you
Sure.
go on.
So here's what I can commit to you on. Thank you for clarifying that you need a little more information on graduate profile.
Just didn't know.
No, I think that, but I think it's important because you're adopting a policy
Right.
that, has for that profile.
Yeah.
And, or considering adopting a policy, and as you start going to, school board trainings around the state, you're gonna hear a lot about graduate profile, graduate profile, graduate profile. So yes, I need to help you be equipped going into understanding what that means, relative to, graduation requirements. So, I'll make sure, in November, December, we get you a little more information on that.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Let me just point out a couple other quick things here, especially some of these things, here in lines 10 through 22, this is just saying, again, we have to have a next step plan that was referred to in the other policy, and then an IEP can count as a next step plan for a student with disability. These items here that are in black, I'm proposing if we adopt this policy, they'll go back into the policy. These are all things that are listed in statutes or listed in administrative code. All right, final exams have to be given in all classes for credit. It's important to remind everybody of that. Parents should be notified, at least right in the third 9 weeks of their senior year, right? You can't wait to tell the kids, hey, you might not graduate the day before, right? You were required to tell them at least a quarter of the year before early.
And unfortunately, earlier, years ago,
Well, yeah,
that's
sure.
how it was.
It should be earlier than that. But
It
by,
didn't. It was all at once, you had them
yeah,
taking 10 courses.
right. But by law, you have to tell them at least 2 months before they might graduate. And then this is important as well, that this protects our, any military families that we have. And if we were to have a student come here and they wanted a diploma from the high school they were relocated from, right? We could let them have that diploma. And then lastly, a couple of important things here, and I did confirm with Miss Reinhardt, and you all may not have had a lot of discussion about this, but just important to know. I did talk with Miss Reinhardt, Mr. Lozano, Mr. Simpson, and they said, yes, our SPED department is aware of this. They have been doing this, so no worries. So students with disabilities on IEPs are current sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Depending on their IEPs and their achievement levels, they can graduate on one of 3 pathways. The standard pathway, like everybody else, okay? What is called the modified pathway, which is basically you can substitute some courses in and out that have to do with CTE type of courses. Those students take those students on the standard and the modified pathway, they take the regular assessment that everybody else takes, which in this case is the SAT or the assessment with modifications, okay? There's a third group that's a graduation pathway called ability, and those students take a separate test, and they have separate standards, and they take the alternative assessment that's called DLN, okay? So our sophomores, juniors, and seniors that are currently in school, and based on their IEPs and their IEP, can graduate on the standard, the modified, or the ability pathway. The new state statute there that I listed, starting with this year's freshmen, okay, they can only graduate on the standard option or the ability option. There's no more modified option, okay? Now, why might the state have changed that? Is because the focus of the modified option, the things you were able to sub out had a lot to do with career, CTE, and pathway courses, okay? My understanding is they made the changes for 2 reasons. One, we don't want kids subbing out, hey, I don't want to take algebra 1, I'm gonna take something else, right? I don't want to take geometry, I want to take something else. Well, those kids have to take the regular assessment.
But who subs them out? Isn't it?
It's in the
IEP
IEP team. It's in the IEP team.
But aren't
right?
they trained to not do that? Because it's required for,
Sure,
like,
right,
they may
so
be allowed to have extra.
it was
time
allowed,
on a test.
but what it was causing was
Oh,
if they were subbing out too many classes with career type classes,
right,
those kids weren't getting exposure to the geometry, the algebra, the
right.
English 1
They
that
needed for
they needed for the SAT. So that's one reason. And then number 2, which I could appreciate how they would allow career required courses in there. As you notice with the new requirements in general, there's a lot of CTE in there right naturally. So now it's not just focusing on CTE for the modified kids, it's hey, CTE for everybody. So those would have been the 2 reasons that they did that. And of course, I just want to make sure everybody knew this was from statute that we put in policy, but I did confirm that with Ms. Reinhardt that the proper changes have been made for our incoming freshmen. But I want to make sure this was in here because I didn't want any confusion with our kids that are currently in school, right? Our sophomore, juniors, and seniors who could still do the modified option.
But freshmen and after can't.
Can't.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to make sure that was clear. And then lastly, this tells you that if you enter high school before 25-26, all the old graduation requirements apply. That's why I think this would be, this whole packet, if we redo it, would be a good regulation to have in there as reference.
Okay.
Okay,
I have a question.
so, yes, ma'am.
You mentioned DLM. Can you, that was the third pathway you were talking about?
The ability pathway was the third pathway. And
That
the
DLM?
assessment is called DLM, Dynamic Learning Maps.
Okay,
And
and
then,
so that one's removed.
no,
No.
that was, the one that stays is standard,
Yes,
which all those kids take the SAT.
right,
If you're a student with a disability, you can take the SAT with modifications.
right.
That's the regular Common Core New Mexico state standards, right? Okay, and the other one that remains is the ability option, which are for our students with the most significant disabilities. They will take an alternative assessment that's called the DLM, Dynamic Learning Maps.
That's what okay.
Correct, and they
that
have a
makes
whole other,
sense.
yeah, they have a
Okay.
whole other set of standards.
Got it, got it.
The modified's gone.
The
I was
modified stuff.
gonna- Yes, okay,
And then, of course, this reminds us that, you know, all the old stuff for the
Mhm.
other kids stays in place, and that's why I think it'd be a good regulation. So this was, again, probably our most complex one from today. Do you need any clarity or more information on this possibly for next week?
No, but I imagine I'll call someone.
Yeah, if you do, just call. If you just call.
but the modifications, just real quick,
Mhm.
I know you were getting
No,
close,
you're fine.
but for the modification part, they're still gonna be able to have, so you have a student on an IEP, they can still have similar or some variations of modifications, they just
You
can't
absolutely-
Yes,
remove
absolutely.
too many of
Let
the
me clarify.
career
Let me
course.
clarify, right? You, as a student with disability, you can always have accommodations and modifications to your assessment,
Got it, okay.
assignments, work, all that stuff. None of
Right.
that's changed. What's changed in removing the modified option for graduation is we can no longer substitute in entire classes.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The pathways have changed.
Yeah.
Just making sure, I thought that's
Yes.
what I heard, but I wanted
That's a
to,
good clarification. Thank you.
thank you, that
No
was
problem.
very informative.
Okay, the next one. This is one that, yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry, one that's a little more simple. This was something that occurred at the end of the session in spring of 2025. This was a legislative action based on some things in the news regarding ensuring that students would not be punished. Our indigenous students would not be punished for wearing their tribal regalia at graduation ceremonies. You may have heard or seen this in the news. This was a policy that, two policies that were modified to include that. And these things went into effect immediately. Again, just a simple modification to the graduation exercises policy about the tribal regalia. That's directly from the law. And then down here in student discipline, that, we will not implement discipline when, students are wearing their tribal regalia at celebrations and events. And that's all that's what this advisory. Any questions about that? That one was pretty straightforward. Okay. Okay, this one here, this has some stuff about the cell phones, okay, which I know that you all were ahead of the curve and took care of that. There were a couple of elements though that I pulled from the law just to do some slight modifications. Ours does not change the meat of anything we're doing here. The other two have to do with some policies that some laws the legislature passed that are requiring us to do some notifications and have AEDs, okay? One of these, I was like, okay, all right, gotcha, we'll take care of it. We'll take care of it for you. Okay, so this first one, titled Emergencies Advisory, let me get down here. 265. This is just adding a cross-reference here down to a new policy about our having to have AEDs. That's all that was added there. I'm sorry, I didn't mention, this one was stuck in there. This one, there was a law passed about, we have to teach, using the science of reading and structural literacy. So this was just a little addition from a law in our instructional, outline, that we have to, teach you the science of reading. That's a little different, so, that was a little instructional one, but these other ones. Oh, this is supposed to be, yeah, I was skipping all of the eighties, but it's in the end. Okay, so cell phones. The state provided two model policies. One basically saying, no cell phones, one saying you decide. Y'all did a great job. You were ahead of the curve, on deciding that and saying, really, we're gonna have a minimal distraction here. And I'll tell you, it's really improved,
I bet.
some behaviors and distraction. I was meeting with the leadership kids the other day and asked them about their cell phones, and they said, no, mister, we can't even take them out for no reason. I said, yeah, I said, that's right. Cause I said, well, just take your cell phone out. They said, no, we can't take our cell phone out. I said, okay, good job. Good job. So anyway, so these elements these slight edits you're gonna see in the DPS policy, there were a couple of key verbiages I took from the two model policies here. Okay, so here's our DPS policy. Just to kind of retitle it so it would align directly with what was in the state law. I didn't think that was of anything substantial. I did take, you all had defined electronic communication devices like that, which was nothing wrong with that in per se. But I said, you know what? Let me take the language directly from the law about what defines an ECD. So again, covers everything that's already covered, and maybe a little bit more in there. So I stuck that in there. I didn't change any of this. This was all perfectly good. And then this was in both policies, just being very clear that any rule that we make can't restrict, an assisted device for a student with disability, or anything that's used for medical necessity via 504 or an IEP. Okay, so I want to make sure those two things were there. You did refer to it, of course, there in the paragraph above. 9, 10, 11, and 12. You did refer to it already, but I want to make sure. Let me take that language from both state advice policies and put that in there. And the last thing I did, you guys had this information about enforcement. However, there was a pretty good paragraph regarding enforcement from the state law. I thought, let me get that in there, because that way, if we're ever questioned, it lines up exactly with the state law, and it really says violations of the school rule related to the device result in disciplinary action, which could result in confiscation, which I believe is in our discipline matrix. The school may decide, to give back to the kid or give it back to the parent later, and it's just reminding us, right, as school officials, right, we shouldn't be searching kids' devices without a very, very good reason. And typically, it's always advised, hey, don't be searching kids' devices. And so, and then of course, it's also required that they be posted on the website and they be notified annually. So those were the slight modifications that I made to the work you all had already done last year. Are there any concerns about just making those tweaks? Okay,
Well, we used to have to read our notes when we passed them in class out loud.
that's right.
So kids are very lucky that we're not reading their text messages.
That's right. We're all very lucky about that, Miss Johnson. Oh, I give it two, sorry. Miss Coleman. Okay, so 268, this is a brand new policy. I don't have I didn't give you this to follow along. I zoomed through graduation. Sorry, you should remind me, Mr. Roscoe. I made all these copies. Here's you get them. I made them. Please take those. Sorry. Please take those. We'll recycle them. Started the kindling, the fire. There was a law passed where AEDs have to be available in all schools. Okay, this has been a conversation with superintendents on how this gets done, who's going to pay for it, how do we maintain them. It's all a very complex thing that there's a lot of back and forth about.
Deadlines, huh?
All that aside, we have to do it. Okay?
Then we're gonna have what again?
Hey, I'm sorry, AEDs.
Defibrillators.
Defibrillators.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
It's been a
Mr.
long
Kroll.
day, so-
Yeah, I know, I know.
I
And
thought you
so
said Administrator.
administrators, yes, we
So
we
you
are,
didn't have them before?
they're not required. However,
Oh,
our high schools do have
Cause
them.
it's hot in the.
Yeah, our high schools do, our trainers do have them.
Okay.
And so in your bigger schools and bigger districts, they're already there by default.
Yeah,
But you know, though Deming is a rural city, it's a larger rural city in New Mexico. There's a lot of very tiny rural districts who do not have anything like that and could be, we're very fortunate here in Deming to have very responsive, you know, ambulance services that are
Yeah.
tied to the city. In some of our smaller communities, that's not available. So making sure throughout New Mexico, AEDs are available in our schools could really, literally, save somebody's life while they're
Yeah.
waiting an hour for somebody to
Yeah, where are they gonna put, they're gonna go on at the gyms and stuff?
yeah, so we're gonna have to come up with a whole particular plan here on who uses them or where they're located. I don't believe I read this, Mr. Kroll, and it doesn't define, excuse me, where they are to be kept. It just tells us up here, install a AED, maintained and tested. All high schools will have at least one 26-27 school year, which we're probably already in compliance because the trainer has one. Each elementary school and middle school shall have at least one no later than the start of the 27-28 school year. So we'll need to make sure we work on that as a team. Okay. And it's reminded, I guess, yeah, I've forgotten this, right? All
You don't know how much they cost, huh?
I don't, Mr. Kroll.
Well, they've come down in price, they're probably 600 to.
Yeah,
$1,000.
in my previous job, I paid for some, but I don't remember how much
Yeah.
They were up there, upwards of 5,000.
A lot of the concern I've heard about them, Mr. Kroll, is from a little bit of a liability perspective is, you know, we have to maintain them, make sure they work, right?
Mhm.
What's our liability if it's not maintained or we thought we maintained it right and we go to use it and somebody's having a cardiac event and,
Doesn't work.
oh, you didn't maintain the AED correctly. That's been a lot of the, there's been a lot of questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
shelf life on the batteries. wasn't it?
Correct, right, charging batteries.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's been a little bit of the concern because there was a conversation about, well, let's put 4 or 5 AEDs around. Well, then that's more
more maintenance.
more maintenance,
time,
right?
yeah.
So,
Cost of
hey,
batteries.
do we just have one that we know
Where it's at.
where it's at and that it works?
Training.
And training, which is also required in there.
Wouldn't it also depend on how big the school is?
That's it, yeah, you know, you could say maybe we want one in the gym and one in the front office in the high school, but really knowing we have one that works and who has it, is probably maintained, may be the best, you know, may sometimes be the best way to go. And then our last one, that's a new one here, and then we'll wrap up with our final set. I appreciate your patience, is that the legislature passed a rule that we are required to inform parents about the water safety. We don't have to teach them water safety guidelines. We have to inform them where to get information on how to be safe around water.
Yeah, thanks
Okay.
for sending that out. We got it.
Yes, yes. So we are required to do that in policy. Okay, big legal disclaimer here that the lawyers put in. We'll tell you where to get the information, but we cannot vouch if it's good, if it's, you know, the best information, right? You know, we don't know about, you know, the background of you know, vetting all those instructors or organizations that are giving the information. So before we get to our last one, any questions about those two? Okay, all right. Our last one is an important one. And you know, we can decide, you all may not be quite ready yet to adopt this one, but I think it's a path we need to go down. I've reviewed this policy with the trenches committee.
Okay.
I reviewed, which they liked it. I reviewed this with the student leadership committee. They liked it. I'm going to try to get some information out to I haven't talked to all the principals yet. I haven't had them in a meeting, and I'll try to maybe get a little survey to all staff and all principals about this policy, but I don't think we're going to get too much negative feedback. But this is about policies regarding AI. And so this advisory at the very end of it has a whole new policy about AI that I'll, just spend a couple of minutes on to try to get your feedback on. But the first parts of these are just two things. One, it's copyright compliance. It's just kind of saying that there's already a copyright compliance. Hold on.
Hey, you didn't hand out the rest of them.
Mr. I know.
I was-
No, I'm gonna save those, Mr. Roscoe. This first one has this copyright compliance at the end. It's just telling us that you should not use AI. Do not violate copyright using AI. Do not feed in copyrighted work and say that it's your own. Very standard there, right? Don't be inputting copyrighted material. Don't be reproducing copyrighted material.
Citing it, huh?
Pardon?
You can use it, but you gotta cite it, right? Is that what it?
There's in this next one, in the next one, Mr. Kroll, the last one, the big comprehensive one, talks about citing the use of AI. But this is just don't you also have seen this, right? People using AI to make fake actors, fake actresses, fake music, right?
Everything.
Sampling everything. This is saying in schools, right? We shouldn't be using it to violate existing copyright law. These next two, I'll zip through them. They're just our technology and acceptable use policies, and it's just adding in there and AI. Okay. I want to spend our last few minutes with the AI policy that's being proposed, and I'll zoom in. I'll point out a couple of important things, and then take some feedback from you all about a timeline you feel regarding this.
Page is that?
Ms. Cameron, this is going to be page number. I even numbered these. It's going to be page 25.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think one note that is said on the front of this advisory is that no AI policy is going to be able to encompass everything all the time.
And it's constantly changing.
And it's constantly changing. And so this is, and I read this, and like I said, people think it's pretty good. This will give us a good place to start. And as things change, if we have this one in place, right, then we can do easily any future advisories that might come out. So this just gives us an overview. Hey, this is AI. It's a new important tool for creativity. We want to make sure we use it in education properly and abide with all laws. It gives us definitions, different types of AI. And here, the first important thing to share is that it tells the district we need to teach kids to be AI literate. What AI is, how to use it, as sometimes education is slow to adopt the new thing. It is very clear that when a lot of us went to school and the internet was becoming a thing and Google was becoming a thing, our teacher would say, no, we need a typewriter. Don't be using that computer. Don't be using the internet.
Don't use Wikipedia.
Don't use Wikipedia, right? It's the same kind of thing here. So it's
Wait a minute, you're maybe on my age here.
no, Miss Cameron. And so this is just saying, hey, we have to teach our kids to use AI, be AI literate. Okay, what that looks like, we're going to work on. But it's saying we need to do that as a district. It's telling us for kids, these things are unacceptable uses of AI, right? Submitting AI content unless you have permission. Using AI to complete assignments, or accessing it unless you're authorized during assessments. Don't use AI. This is my favorite bullet. Using AI to avoid learning processes or skill development attended by curriculum or falsely simulating participating in classes, discussions using AI. This is saying you can't skip out. You can't use AI to skip out on learning. Okay, right? You gotta learn.
Use that brain.
Yeah, fabricated citations and data. Don't use that. This is an important one. Do not use and input personally identifiable information in AI. Anything that's privately protected, don't put it in there. Don't use it to harass, bully, intimidate, generate things that can be used to harass, bully, and intimidate. You should only use AI tools that have been approved by the district. Now, that is an area that we'll have to leave in gray because we are developing that. We are piloting a very commonly used program called Magic School AI. That meets all the requirements. We're piloting that in a few schools this year to see if that's useful, but that's kind of, it's saying you can only use what we permit. We're still defining what we permit, but we need to get this in place to say we have to authorize it. And then, don't use it in a fashion to violate school policies, district or law. Then it reminds all adults, employees, contractors, volunteers, don't be loading in private information. Don't be sharing information in AI, using AI to store information. This would be a caution against, I need to write an IEP for a student. Let me just load the kid's IEP into AI and have it write me some accommodations and modifications, right? Can't be doing that. Don't use it for misrepresentation. Don't use it to harass your colleagues. This one we'll talk about a little more in a second. Using AI to grade, or be the final determination on student assessments and grading, right? This can be a part of, but you can't use it in lieu of. And again, use it in a professional, don't violate the law. Now, this is an important one because my previous experience ran into a couple of hiccups with this. Academic integrity, okay? We're telling kids, you can't use it to cheat, but the teachers have to make sure ahead of time you say, right? And this, please don't use AI, right? It's also reminding us in the second paragraph here is that you can't use AI as the sole determination if somebody was cheating. We can't take an essay that Ms. Crumley wrote and we run it through there and it says,
She used it.
she used AI, okay? We have to say it can be a tool as part of that, but can't be the sole determining factor. Okay. And that is very important because people are running in the trap of running through there. The AI said you cheated.
So you cheated.
So you cheated. And so it can be the sole determining purpose. And then it requires us to vet the tools, make sure they're not biased, make sure they're accessible to all students. We keep our, again, not loading our district data and information into unsecure AI platforms, and that we develop a plan to train our teachers, and then again reminding everybody of hey, if you misuse AI, it's a violation of policy. Okay, and so this one has gotten some good feedback from the parties we shared it with. What I'm going to do is this week I will put this. I'm proposing that we put this on the agenda. This one on the agenda for next Thursday. Okay, I'm going to try to get a little survey out to teachers, a survey out to parents. I'm sorry, survey out to teachers, and a survey out to principals. If I don't get anything like that's a significant change, significant like this is terrible, then we could consider it for approval on Thursday. If we get feedback that says, you know what, I have this question, I have that question, other questions, then we can table it, remove it from the agenda, and maybe consider it again in November, right? I'd like to get this in place sooner rather than later. Then that gives us some guardrails and a direction to, go forward. Okay, does that seem agreeable?
Yes.
Okay. I know it was a lot today. Good news is that catches that when all these get approved, that'll catch us up with a year and a half of advisories. And then Mr. Turner can work to make sure we get everything nice and straight and clean. And then the next project I've been starting a folder here called Policies to Fix. Okay, so I've been because I'm meandering through the policy manual, or I'm finding things and hearing things. I'm doing old person style here, and I'm printing them out and putting them in a folder, which that's worked for lots of years. And so
I was gonna say, what's wrong with us old folks?
no, I'm not on this camera. I don't consider you old, okay?
You're the youngest here.
You're-
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And so I guess what I'm sharing is I'll work on getting a collection of these, and then when I get a collection of these, that might indicate it's time for another work session.
Okay.
Right? Where we can go through maybe any new advisories and any of these, right? Because again, I don't know if it's helpful. Obviously, I get one and then give it to you unless it's like an emergency. I don't know if it's a good use of our time in the board meetings, but I think if we can, collect 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that need to be reviewed and revised, these ones may need review by lawyers, and then we can have a work session and then possibly consider them for adoption. That seem
Sounds good.
reasonable? there any questions before we conclude the work session about anything you've heard today? Or anything, any other information you need prior to including some of these for possible approval next Thursday?
I think if it's something that's doable, I'd like to see the results of the survey.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I will do that. And if for some particular reason I get a little bit behind on getting the survey done in a reasonable time this week, then I'll just pull it off until November.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay, so that officially, shall be, so we don't need to adjourn, so thank you all for joining this evening, and, thank you, Ms. Coleman, for joining this evening, we appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me. This is
You're welcome.
great work.
Thank you.
Looks really good.
Let me see how to de-zoom this thing here.
I'm gonna go pop in on my opponents out at La Fonda.
Oh, no. Off
Say
to
hi.
We're opponents.
Oh, yeah.
Off to La
I
Fonda.
love having fun. Nice meeting you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure.
Nice meeting you. Oh, thank you. Nice, thank you, Daniel.
Let me get these closed out.
Come on, let's go.
Nice to meet you.
Actually,
Nice to meet you as well.
And I'm Mary Lou Cameron.
Of course. we
As
also
you know.
Mary Lou. Thank you, bye.
Take care, have a good night. Hold on, let me turn this off, y'all, okay? We're having a hard time.
Okay.
Yes, it's me. Here we go.